Welcome to Snapdown Wrestling. I'm your host, Tommy Lynch, and am with sfbnri.com. Tonight's theme is middle school kids and the youth program, and I have some great guests with us tonight. I have Matt Cleason, who runs the Coventry youth program, the Renegades. He's one of the volunteer coaches over there, and Ruben Ray, who is a middle school coach here in Cranston. Later on, I might have another volunteer coach come on board. But Ruben is going to be with us. Matt Cleason is going to be with us. Ruben wrestled for me way back in the day in Parkview, junior high back then. It wasn't even middle school yet, to tell you how long ago it was. But great kid, amazing wrestler, great coach. Transitioned over from wrestling to MMA, did well there. Really great guy to have around your kids and to be coaching them. Really motivational. Definitely a champion. He'll be joining us very shortly. Also, Matt Cleason, who I've known forever, literally since I was 9 years old. I believe Matt was my first wrestling match ever in a tournament, my first live wrestling match. He wrestled for West Warwick, came through the system. We both graduated same year, and he ended up coaching a couple of different high schools and programs, but ended up at Cranston West, and it was there that he just tore it up. He started Cranston West, built a dynasty. They were 4-time state champs, 4 years in a row. Undefeated dual meet record, just absolutely amazing coach, very motivational, inspiring, passionate, one of the most passionate coaches I've ever met. And he still comes by. He helps me out with the kids at Cranston West, and becomes, my coach in essence of coaching. So really happy to have him here tonight talking about what's going on with wrestling, with the youth, and with high school, and with COVID and everything that's going on. Are we going to have a season? Are we not going to have a season? Everybody's asking that question. Everybody's optimistic. Some people are saying we're not going to have a season. We're going to try to clarify some of that up tonight. I didn't have a show last week. We went dark in honor of Adam DeCiccio, who is a friend of mine. He's also my middle school coach over at Weston Hills. It was his second season last season. Upcoming would have been his third season, and he passed away last week. So I just wanted to say my sincere condolences to him and his family. He's a great guy. Did a lot of work with the kids, a lot of work with the vets. Do food drives during the holidays, and donated a lot of his time, a lot of his money to these programs. A father, a young son he leaves behind. Just very, very tragic situation. So I wanted to just take a moment of silence for Adam DeCiccio and his family. He will definitely be missed. So, as everybody knows, this COVID thing is really just turned everything upside down, including sports. We know that we need kids in school. We know that we need sports. We need these kids in sports, getting that release, achieving, accomplishing, setting goals, accomplishing goals, and winning and losing. It's all part of sports, all part of life. So we need kids in sports. Good news is the first vaccine went out today. I don't know if you caught that on the news, but the vaccine went out. A doctor, I believe, at Lifespan got the first one. It was Christian Arvelez, a doctor over at Rhode Island Hospital, who was the first one to get it. And the front line's getting it. Nursing homes are going to be getting it. Then it's going to trickle down to additional elderly, and then schools and that whole system. So that's good. I mean, that's some really, really good news. That's the light at the end of the tunnel that we have been waiting for, especially coaches and sports and, teachers and, everybody across the board. for this vaccine to hit, and it's here. Rhode Island's one of the 4 states that are going to be distributing the vaccine. So we are in full go with that, and I'm going to get one. It was the first opportunity that I have. I work within the school system, so I will have that available to me hopefully pretty soon. And I will definitely be taking. Some people, I don't want to take it. They rushed it too fast. It's been under extensive testing, and I'm definitely going to be in line to get that shot for sure. Now, the good part about that is there's going to be a season. All right. By the time we do our season, which has been pushed to the spring officially by the RIAL, the Principals Committee has listed us as now a 4th season spring sport. And anything can happen today, tomorrow, is not written in stone. But I'm going to tell you this. I got the emails saying that season is going to happen at that time. And now with the vaccine on its here and being distributed, we're looking pretty good. I also wanted to mention that there's a new test that has come out that is amazing, that you download an app on your phone. You get this test, you swab yourself, you put it through some type of, basically you smear it, and you put it next to your phone, and this thing tells you if you're negative or positive in 10 minutes. And it's like 99.9% accurate. Just unbelievable. And the cost of that's somewhere in the neighborhood of, they're talking about $20. So there's another positive for sports. If there's any question that day, you have a team take a test and everybody's negative, we're good to go. So some exciting things, some really good news for, Rhode Island, for Rhode Island sports, for nursing homes, for hospital workers, for frontline. I mean, this is a great day and a happy day for all of us. But without further ado, let me bring on my guests before I just run on and just keep talking and talking and talking, because I could just sit here and talk to myself all night. But in my lounge, I have 2 great guys, 2 great friends of mine, in Matt Cleason and Ruben Ray.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
What's going on, guys?
Good to see you. Good to see you, coaches. How you guys doing?
Good.
Not bad. Long day.
Long day, right? Long day. Long 3 months, actually, leading up to today. Like I said, it's a great day with the vaccine being administered now, and things are going to be looking up. Now, you guys, you're involved heavily, Coach Cleason, with the youth program in Coventry, of all places. So let me just say that first and foremost, Coventry. Because
I grew up wrestling for West Warwick, so Coventry was always our nemesis. Not in wrestling, because basically we had an injury fund every year, and they called it an injury fund because they injured probably 70% of our team and no one came back. So, but back in the day, Coventry was the nastiest dynasty of all time. So their wrestlers were animals, and they were committed, and they trained hard, and they knew what they were doing. So when I was able to get a bunch of football buddies to come out, that would be our first event that they would see. And then the next day of practice, I'd say I'd lose at least 60% of them that were like, this isn't for me. And I'm like, you got to understand, that's Coventry. That's Coventry. So
that's when you were coaching.
No, that was when I was in high school. My brother and I were basically, we had Cornicelli, we had a few talented wrestlers that were on the team. But when we tried to fill the holes with football players, that injury fund wrecked that pretty quick. So that was our first. The only time we faced Coventry was the injury fund, because we were Division 3, they were Division 1, so they mopped us up in high school back in the day.
Right. Who'd you wrestle, if you can remember?
From Coventry. His first name was Jared. He wasn't a champ. I think he ended up finishing 3rd or 4th. 1 year. I might have wrestled Brian Smith one time. That was when I was younger. When I was 12. Then I went up to 135. He stayed at 12.
Smith stayed at 12. Won the state championship 1 year. Took second to Paulo Casali, actually. one year from Cranston East, my old teammate. But Coventry, what a dynasty. The wrestlers that came out of there between, the whole Smith family, obviously, and, Kenny Plouffe and, Robichaud and just.
Yeah, well, we didn't typically wrestle on the weekends. So Mr. McGarren and Mr. Smith used to let me and my brother go to Coventry on the weekends to wrestle, to practice because they just, they had respect for my father, I would say, or whatnot. I don't know how we got the invite, but we did. Yeah. And those were intense practices. Those were a treat. Those were fun to be at. So there was a lot of focus in that room, and it was fun going in there and getting to roll around with those guys on the weekend. But other than that,
so I guess that explains why you went to Coventry, because one, you were asked.
Well, actually, the reason why I ended up there is Kevin Hennessy, who's the Hendricken coach. He, we went out after New England's one night, and we were having a couple of drinks, and he asked me if I wanted to coach with his brother, and I wanted to get my son into wrestling. I already started through Lonnie Morris over at Jay Wu with a camp there, here and there, and I kind of wanted to get him involved. And I gave him the commitment that night, and then, when the season rolled around, I got the phone call, and basically Sean's been a tremendous coach over there. Sean Hennessy, his brother, does that. He handles everything. There's great guys over there working in the club between him and Coach DeGrade, and we got Cornicelli helping out. Coach Gildy's daughter's there, so he's been in and out. Coach Bob Sawyer from Hendricken, he's there all the time. He's got his two boys there, so we were really looking forward to continuing to build the program, but COVID kind of messed up our plans, we'll say.
Yeah. How many numbers did you have last year?
We had like good 50 kids. We were on our way.
Yeah.
And most of them were first year guys. We had a handful of second year guys, but most of them were first year guys, and we were feeling good about the direction of the club. We felt like we were moving in the right direction. Now, I know you asked me earlier off the air what the top clubs are. I would say Mayo Quanchi is the name. Everyone knows. They do a tremendous job with their athletes there. Everybody knows. I'm sure Ruben knows plenty of athletes that came out of Mayo Quanchi, because a lot of Cranston guys, between Louis Felix and Giblin and everyone else, they do a great job. Their wrestlers are respectful. They know their stuff, and that's what we were trying. That's the direction we wanted to go. So we wanted to get up there to try to compete with the big boys in a couple of years, but this is a setback, to say the least.
It is a little bit of a setback, absolutely, for sure. And we're going to try to just take the lumps on that and see what emerges, from the rubble, I guess you'd say, because that's what it feels like to me. That much of a devastation to what has happened at the beginning of the season. In fact, tonight I think would have been our first dual meet. So that didn't happen. But Ruben.
And I'd be at your gym tonight watching.
Yeah, you would. Ruben, now, guys, let me just say, Ruben wrestled for me, like I said, at Parkview a few years ago. Let's just say that. Can we say that, Ruben?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. And he was my go-to guy. He was awesome. He never lost a match in middle school, so I knew I could count on him for a 6. And he was several-time state champion, several-time New England champion in middle school, and he was the outstanding wrestler in the middle school state championship, and he had the most pins in the least amount of time in the middle school state championship. So he did a lot for us, as a team. Now, for those of you that know Ruben now and did not know Ruben back then, Ruben would always come out, and win, and he was a light guy. I mean, what were you wrestling? 75?
What's this lowest weight class? I don't know. It was always the lowest one.
He was tiny. I mean, he was 4 foot nothing and 70 pounds soaking wet if he was lucky. But man, was he quick, and man, could he put it on you. Strong, wiry, fast, technical. I mean, this kid had it all. You look at him, for those that didn't know, would be like, oh, I'm going to destroy this kid. And he'd get out there and he'd just tune you up. Now he's all a 6 foot, what? 2?
Yeah, I mean, I broke 6 feet. That's a feat in itself. I was coming into freshman year of high school of 4'10", 86 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know how that growth spurt happened, but I kind of hit my growth spurt. Never, but it's what it is. And, I was quite happy with my weight class when I was wrestling, at sophomore. Freshman, I was 110 pounds. And then that was my growth spurt, actually. So from freshman to sophomore year, I went from 110 to 125, then 130, then finished out at 135. But Ruben was a great wrestler, and then he went out to Cranston East. He took third in the States, second in the States. I think he was undefeated in dual meets.
Yeah, I had to check today with Lewis because of all people to know anything against me, it would be him. And he was like, I honestly can't think of you losing in a dual meet. So, I mean, I can recall several tournament losses, obviously, but
right.
Duels.
Yeah, so that's impressive. Even you were finalist in New England too, right?
Well, yeah, against the infamous Matt Smith, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I would go up to the high school and I would help coach. So I was coaching still the middle school at the time, and then I was coming up to the high school, and I guess I was like the second or third assistant volunteer coach with Chris Trebelli and Coach Giarusso.
Yeah.
And, you guys had a great team, a lot of great wrestlers from Parkview, a lot of great wrestlers from Bain that came up through, and Stephen Moretti was the coach at Bain at the time, and he brought a ton of great wrestlers to the table for Cranston East. Do you recall any of those that you wrestled with that came from Bain?
I mean, from Bain specifically, the only one that really sticks out is Lewis, just because I have such a close relationship with him. And then I can't remember the kid's name that I ended up wrestling. He never ended up turning up over at East, I don't think. But I didn't know too many of the Bain kids that moved over to East for wrestling besides Lewis.
I went to Bain. Now, when you came up through Parkview, I can't really remember. It's all just kind of a 90s blur. But who'd you come up with? Was it Freddie Hazard? And
so Freddie was a year before me, and I was with Keith, and Keith was behind me with my brother Alex. So I can't really think of any of the major guys that were my year besides like.
Now, Freddie was a trip. You must have a Freddie story or two in the bank.
Oh, Freddie. Got tons of stories about that kid.
Yeah. He was pretty funny.
Here's a kid who was jacked, Freddie Hazard. I mean, this kid was just jacked, and I pull him out of the hallway. I'm weighing kids in the hallway, and I see him, and I'm like, whoa, come here, step on the scale. He's like, no, coach, no, I don't think so. I'm like, come on, just step on the scale. I'm like, oh, perfect. I actually need a 30-pounder. So, he had to come to practice. Everything's going to be fine. So he's no. And I see him in the gym. Another gym. We're in the practice, and I wave him, come here, and he comes walking over, limping, right? And I'm like, well, I told you, start practice today. Well, we started 3 days ago, but I'm gonna start. Come on, boy, don't worry about it. I'm just watch. He's like, my ankle, I got to go ice it down. And he turns around, he goes to walk away, and he's limping on the other foot. I said, you were just limping on your right, now you're limping on your left. What is it? He's like, oh, well, both kind of hurt. Then the following week, the wrestling team kind of put it to him. He comes out, and I showed him one move, and he just began to tear it up. I mean, he was beating everybody. I mean, the second match, he beat the state champ, the previous year state champ. I can't even remember now who it was, but it was that bar and chancellor, that head chancellor with the bar arm. There's so many different names for it. Matt, what do you call it?
You talking about the DJ or the
DJ? Right. And he did it. He was right on the out of bounds, and he did it. And he over the table, onto the table, the score table, everything. Just, I'm like, Freddie, listen, when you're like that, you can't throw somebody like that. You got to try to circle him in. But, you could get hurt.
I remember Coach Trebelli trying to deal with Freddie. he had his hands full.
Yeah. He
fell asleep on the mat a couple times during matches.
Yeah.
What? He fell asleep on the mat during matches a couple times.
That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan.
Narcolepsy. No problem. He has narcolepsy. So he would fall asleep sometimes in the middle of the matches.
Yeah.
I used to carry a note in my back pocket from his doctor. So because sometimes they tried to stop the match and say he was knocked out, he loses the match. We have to stop the match. He's knocked out. I said, no. Oh, he didn't hit his head. He didn't nothing. He fell asleep. And everyone's like, wake up. And he would wake up and then he would, just tear it up. By the time he fell asleep when he was getting put to his back. Almost.
Well, I didn't even know that about him. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
He never lost in middle school either.
Yeah.
No,
he was amazing. That was amazing teams that came out of Parkview. And the middle school program is really hurting now. So anybody that's listening and has been thinking about coaching and wanting to coach, now's the time. This would be the year to get into it because we're hurting in Cranston at the middle school.
We're going to need another two outside of myself now. Unfortunately,
Parkview doesn't have a coach. Bain. Speaking of which, why did you decide to go to Bain and not Parkview if you came from Parkview?
Realistically, they didn't give me much of an option. It was kind of Bain has wrestling mats right now and Parkview doesn't. So that's where you're going to go. I would have loved to go to Parkview. It's my alma mater, but it is what it is. So I wanted to get involved and Bain had a place for me. So that's where I went.
Real quick, if I could speak, because in the intro you talked about Coach DeCiccio and his passing and all that. So real fast, I just wanted to say that he was one of my first ever leaders over at Cranston West, basically my first year as the coach over there. So, it was tragic news for all of us. He did a ton for the city of Cranston. Not only the city of Cranston, he's touched the lives of more people than I'll ever get to. So he's really done a tremendous job in when he left the program and doing good throughout the community. He really put his best foot forward at all times. The whole family, Mark, Alex and the mom, and unfortunately the father passed as well. But the whole family's a tremendous class act. So he's definitely going to be missed. He was a light in the room, always in a good mood. Every practice was enjoyable when Adam was there because he always made sure that everybody was, enjoying themselves out there. Didn't always want to do what I want him to do, but he would do it with a smile on his face. After once we got going, So,
we're
tremendous.
We're certainly definitely all missing him, and myself we're definitely missing him because he was my partner there, as well. He was my feeder program. He was my middle school coach, and we had some great things that we were getting ready to do, and with the numbers and combining our programs and
I loved him over there at Weston Hills. He was a perfect fit. I was like, can't have a better guy over there working with the kids and all that. So it was, just I know a lot of my wrestlers have reached out to me about how sad they were to hear the news and stuff. So it was pretty tough. So
thank you for those words. And on that note, let's take a break. We're going to cut to commercial. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Coach Ruben Ray and Coach Matt Cleason. This is Snapdown Wrestling. I'm your host, Tommy Lynch, with SFBNRI, and we will be right back.
Go buy the Cucina de Cafarina pasta sauce. It's better than your mama's gravy. I'm just telling you that right now. Go ahead and fight me on it. 5.0. You're not going to get a better sauce out of the jar from a store than Cucina de Cafarina.
A cool Tennessee night, I like to pop my trunk. Climb up in my bed and pop me a top of a little sauce.
So now I'm on my second order, and guess what? This is the bachelor's dream. Because I just open the jar, make my pasta, and I got my homemade sauce. Mwah, mwah, ba-boom-ba.
Caterina, Caterina, Caterina. The best sauce in the world. Wow. You're number one. The best. I can't believe it. Santa Caterina.
What do you think?
Oh my gosh, it's like eating a garden. Oh my gosh,
You like it? That's so funny.
I'm gonna do the happy sauce.
All right, welcome back, guys, to Snapdown Wrestling. We are talking with Coach Ray and Coach Cleason, and we are talking middle school and youth program wrestling right now, where these guys are coaching, trying to get their teams back together, trying to see what's going on with the season, what's happening. Is there going to be a season? Well, I'm really, really confident now that there's going to be a season since they pushed it to the spring. They could have just said canceled, guys, right?
Yeah, no, of course.
Right.
Said, you know what? Wrestling's
hope.
too much contact. It's canceled. That's it. It's not safe. Didn't do that. They pushed it.
As you and I talked, it's safer than most sports because you're only in contact with one athlete. You know, and when you're on a basketball court, you're in contact with, I don't know, 30, 40 people touch that ball in the course of the game. So right. You know, you can't get much safer than only being in contact with one person when playing a sport. So
right.
You know.
Yeah, everybody's touching the ball, like you said. You know, you're definitely having serious contact. If the defender's face is right there, you're going around and you sweat. I mean, it's the same type of contact. The only difference is that's like for an hour. All right. Yeah. And you got a ball that everybody is passing around and touching and wrestling one person. And sometimes for only 10 seconds, right? Yeah. Like our first match, Matt, me and you.
Yes. I didn't want to bring that up because Tommy prefaced the fact that I was his first match ever. And I appreciate the intro or the build-up you gave me. That was a little too much as far as me. I learn a lot from going in Tom's room. I love going in there and seeing what he's doing with the kids. I'm constantly trying to learn as a coach. I want to get better at anything I do, but so he's been teaching me a lot as well. But our first match ever, I was probably wrestling like 2 or 3 years. I can't remember. I had a very competitive family. Well, my father was very competitive. My brother had tremendous success on the mat. I think his first year he went to the state finals or whatever. So I had limited success as a youth. Tom's first match ever. I think it didn't go past. It might have went past the first period. I doubt it. Maybe second. He pinned me awfully fast for his first match ever after when I had like 2 years of experience under my belt. So,
Right. And I constantly, bust your chops about it. And
we talk about it a lot.
Ken, for crying out loud.
You weren't the only one who got his licks in me back then. Everyone took their turn whacking me around. So, Right. I remember other little kids on the sidelines asking me, why do you do this? Why don't you quit? Why I would quit if I was you, if I was that bad.
That's the type of ridicule he was getting, Ruben. That's from his peers. Imagine he's a little kid, and they're like, "Why don't you just quit? You're so bad, you should just quit."
I didn't want to tell him that I didn't want to quit because I thought that in my head I thought I was going to be good. Which in my head I'm like,
you did. No, you did. Right? You did develop into a good wrestler.
I did. In high school I did, but I didn't want to tell them that because they'd start laughing. So I would just say I have to come anyways because my brother's here. So.
Right. Well, Ruben, about that as well. I mean, you had a brother. You were the older brother as
Big
well.
wrestling family, yeah.
You're both older brothers, right?
Of
And
course, yeah.
you know,
Did your father wrestle, Ruben?
I'm sorry.
Did your father wrestle as
Yeah,
well?
my father and both of my uncles wrestled.
Yep.
My uncle Victor was actually Trebelli's first state champion.
All right, yep. They
And,
were at all the matches, so I remember them always being there. And
yeah, my uncle Victor took it the most serious, and then my father was just kind of out there because he was an animal, and same thing with his brother Mario. So
yeah,
obviously they just pushed it down to me. So
nice,
right.
Nice.
And then Alex, I forget what did Alex do? I know.
I believe actually Alex won states in high school twice. I believe he's a two-time state champion.
He was good for me at Parkview. I remember that, but I don't think I was doing as much volunteer assistant coaching. More when you were there.
Yeah.
I think, but at that time, life started taking over, and I, just started, working and doing other things. I didn't have much time to volunteer. But Alex was a great wrestler for me. And I didn't know that he was a two-time state champion. But the little brothers, looking up to their bigger brothers. I coached you. I coached these guys honestly, like hard. I like you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I coach too. I mean, I loved it, and if it's wrestling, you kind of need it. It comes with the territory. You know what I mean? The guy on the other side of the line is not going to be nice to you. So it's like, it's all love at the end of the day. And the kids know it. You grow up and you know it. It's like your coaches are like your idols, when you're coming up through the system like that.
And I think it means a lot if you know in your head you worked harder than your opponent. So if you know that you put your time in, come that third period when win gets tough to find, that's when that comes to play a lot, and that can mean a big deal in a match. That can close the gap pretty quick. So yeah,
for sure. Ruben, did you coach last year at Parkview, or is this
Bain? That was my first year.
Bain
last season. Yeah,
last season.
Mm-hmm.
Right. How did Bain do? What'd you have for numbers?
Consistently, I had about 6 to 10. At times, there was like 14 to 16 people on the mats. It was, it was hard. Every single one of them was a first-year wrestler. Some very good amount of talented kids, but just wasn't their driving force yet. It was still being introduced, and we came in late, so my dual schedule was all messed up. I think we only ended up having like 3, scrimmage duels. It wasn't even real things, and just making placement for states. It really didn't even matter as long as we got to go. So
sure. So do you know anything about the history? Like why are the numbers so low? What was going on before you got there? Did they have the program? Was it just like the gym teacher coaching it? What was going on?
I think even the reach to have the gym teacher coaching it wasn't even there. It was just literally a void that they couldn't fill with anything. Even you can imagine the worst option just wasn't even an option for them, I'm presuming, because when it came to me, it was a good timing, fortunately, because I'm kind of doing my own thing. I run my own company, and just I can make my own hours to be able to do that. And for me, it was like, I have to do this. Like Lynch, you were there for me when I needed that, and you know what I mean? And it groomed every experience that I had since then. Who knows what would have come of wrestling for me had I not had that opportunity, regardless. Sure. So for me, it was like, I got to do this. Someone was there for me, and, I love the sport, so I'm going to do it for the sport no matter what.
That's
prior to that, I just don't think anyone was there to fill the shoes, like I said. And
the hard thing with finding wrestling coaches is nobody's going to coach wrestling for the money. The amount of time you got to put in the weekends, in the tournament, especially at the high school level, like traveling and but even middle school, the tournaments, it's not like you show up and you're home in 3 hours. Sometimes before and it's an all day affair. And if you break it down by the how much you get an hour, it's embarrassing to say out loud.
I lose far more money leaving work to go do that than I could ever imagine. Through there.
So if you're coaching, you're doing it because you love coaching. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I was
kids, you love helping kids. You love teaching them drive, teaching them commitment, teaching them.
Yeah.
You love molding kids into.
I'm blessed to be able to even make that decision. So it's great.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you in those circles, Ruben, for sure. And you've had some great coaches, in me, of course, but Belly and some of the coaches afterwards. We had a coach like that when I wrestled at Bain. An English teacher, Coach Bonaventure, came in, and he was like, he knew nothing really about wrestling. He was kind of out of a book and just looking at the moves out of a book, like how to, junior high school wrestle book. Yeah. He tried to teach us just some of the basics. And a couple of the college coaches from Rick came in, and they started, helping out, like John Forcino and Mike Falasto, Scotty Martin. Those guys started coming down. But, it's amazing that a teacher would take that role and, kind of changed all of our lives. We ended up winning the state championship my 8th grade year, and then the freshman state championship, the 9th grade year. So that was absolutely amazing. But it's funny you say like the gym teacher. I'm like, well, the gym teacher, it's like Rydell High with our very own Coach Calhoun, so he can ring that victory bell, dong dong dong. Where Coach Calhoun coached every sport: wrestling, baseball, basketball, gymnastics, and he never won anything. But he was there for the kids at least, and that's what we're trying to do: is be there, mold them, teach them drive, passion, and how to win, and also how to lose. So that's important. If we can get that across and have them have that drive to win and want to win and win with dignity, but lose gracefully, that's an accomplishment.
It's tough finding a balance between trying to be one of the hardest working programs in the state and having fun every day at the same time. So that's the key as a coach. You got to make sure. I know that I always had a ball being in the practice room. I always thought it was the funnest place to be. I even though we were working hard, I was having a great time in there. So I think if your coach is enjoying it, that transfers on to the athletes. And I think that even though you're working them, they go home feeling great about themselves. Like I feel tremendous. Look how much faster I am this week from last week. I could, things that they could barely do week 1, they're punching out like crazy on week 3. Seeing them grow and get confidence like that, it's really it's a real rewarding sport to coach, to be able to see that transformation.
It's a life changer. I mean, it really is. And some of the kids, from Parkview would come back, and I'd see them out, and they'd be like, "Oh, Coach Lynch, you changed my life. It's so great. I mean, I wouldn't be this. I wouldn't have done that. I, made these choices based on a lot of the what you've instilled in me, and some of the things that you talked about, not only but on the map, but just in the future, and kind of thinking, where am I going to be in 5 years, even at that level. I was talking to junior high school kids that way, and they're like, you really, I think about that, and that's how I run my whole life in setting my goals. Now it's for family and for career and stuff like that. But he goes, that's the stuff that sticks with you. Meanwhile, I'm like crying, wiping my eye, like really, you know that you have that impact, but when it's in your face and people are telling you right there how you change their lives, is just like, it's so overwhelming and so great. Yeah, and which is, I guess why we do it, because like you said, it's certainly not for the money.
Makes it all worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Ruben, you ended up transitioning to MMA.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And personally, I would have done the same thing if MMA would have been big or even available. There wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, no, it seems like the natural progression for a lot of wrestlers now, because there was, you can go to college and then what? What do you do with all these skills that you've acquired? There's no professional platform outside of the Olympics, and it's not even the same style wrestling for most. So, you know what I mean? It's MMA is just like a great fit for guys that even want to just get in the gym, like be competitive, just have another guy on the other side that wants to do, something to you that you don't want him to do. It's just that wrestling mentality and just a different form to it,
Right. And how long did you do MMA for?
I actually started late, because I went to URI after high school and did the electrical engineering program, and I wrestled club with them, which was literally just a joke. We didn't have mats to train on. It was running and lifting and going and getting a bus somewhere and kind of just screwing off and having fun. You know what I mean? But following that, I just got the itch when I left. So I started MMA when I was 24. And I had done that probably up until about 6 years ago or so. And I'm 37 now. So about seven or 8 years of my career.
Wow.
Yeah. And do you still train? Do you still hit the
I mean, if I get on the mat, I love to train. I don't make a habit of it anymore necessarily. I kind of caught some injuries doing other stuff. I'm all over the place. I still find my adrenaline fixes elsewhere, but I do some mountain biking and some snowboarding and kind of accumulated some injuries along the way with that stuff. So
yeah,
the training is just, it's so time consuming, and you can't just dabble, you know. You'll go out there and you're going to get whooped on and you're going to be like, oh, I'm better than this. I'm tired, you know? So
yeah,
it's tough to just train casually when you've been competitive.
Yeah.
And it's funny because MMA, a lot of wrestlers find great success in it. A lot of the champions have a wrestling background, you know, you see, but it seems like in Rhode Island, a lot of the kids that flourish at MMA are Cranston East wrestlers. You know, Cranston East wrestling program has put out a lot of successful MMA.
Yeah.
You know, more than any other wrestling program.
Yeah.
I mean, between me, Marquise, and Lewis alone, you know, that's three Rhode Island MMA killers. You know, we've all put a name out for ourselves out there in the ring.
Exactly. And it's funny because when I think of the different styles of wrestling, you know, East always had this weird, slick style that was tough to always throwing legs in, always tying you up, doing. Like you guys always had a different type of style that you had to prepare for as a coach, compared to like a Coventry that like Cumberland, you know, the cradles and the dumps coming or whatever,
and the chicken wings.
Yeah. East, you don't know what's coming. It's going to be something slick, and you guys are always adding a new trick to the bag. So you guys always like reinventing the sport, and always you guys are always on the top of your game as far as you know. Coach Travelli did a good job, and you guys have always you had a nice creative room where everybody was like,
and I was just gonna say is it's a blessing when you have so many partners in the wrestling room with you that bring so many different dynamics, and it's like, you know, you have to adapt or you're gonna get wiped, and it's like these are your friends now, so you're never gonna hear the end of it, obviously.
So it's like sink or swim. But
now, have you heard anything about the middle school program? Has any email?
I haven't heard anything. I mean, the extent of me knowing anything about middle school sports right now is they sent me a contract for the season. So they're like, here, you know, in case something happens, at least you're in, but there hasn't been any communications of, you know, dates or anything of that matter. So
all right. Well, I'm going to dig into that and see what's going on with Justin Erickson.
I can look into it too if you want.
Just to I mean, well, you're part of the youth program over at Coventry, so
But I'm in the school in Cranston. I'm in the system, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're my man over there.
I know as far as you guys are doing a great job. So I try to help as much as I can, but I know as far as the youth program, Coach Grade went to represent us tonight. Well, he didn't go somewhere; it was a virtual meeting, but he attended it and told us that they're very great youth coaches in this state, very passionate youth coaches. Is a tremendous, the youth in Rhode Island is flourishing. You're going to see a lot of Division I, caliber wrestling coming out of Rhode Island as time goes on. It's pretty impressive. But he said that the coaches there are passionate that they're having a state tournament no matter what. They don't care if they have to have it in August. They're having a state tournament this year, and that was the one thing that they came back from the meeting all in agreement with, that they're gonna make sure that there's a state tournament.
Well, that's inspiring, and that's good to hear. We feel the same way. We think, and now I really am confident that we are having a season. There's no doubt. They pushed us to the spring. We actually early on had coaches meetings and we're like, hey, let's just make it a definitive spring. Move us to the fourth season. We'll see what happens. Now, again, with the vaccine in play, I keep bringing that up because it's such a huge thing. It's what they were looking for. It's what they were waiting for. It's going to be a game changer. We are going to have a season, full-on tournaments, everything. It may be a little shortened, and we may not do 5 tournaments. We may do 2. or 3 and keep it in state. Who knows still about the traveling, but all I know is that we have not been sidelined. We have not been canceled. We've been pushed and kicked down the street a little bit, which is what we expected, but I'm fine with that. And I'm happy as can be that that's where we are right now and looking like we're going to have a season. Now, the thing that we need to do is just now get those numbers up, get those signups, stop making some noise, start, putting out, it's time to sign up. So you at least have the numbers. Because right now I got 16 guys. Last year,
You have 16 guys.
16 sign up.
Didn't you have crazy numbers the year before?
I had 60.
Yeah.
And then through everything, you end up losing a couple to grades and attitude. I cut 6 of them myself just because they weren't showing up. They weren't giving 100%, no call, no show, and of course, it was great to be in a position to be like, hey, first meeting, everybody, welcome. We're going to have cuts this year. So this is not an automatic thing. If you're here for the jacket and think you're just going to skate along, that's not going to happen. You have to come bring your game every day. You're 100% maybe different than Chris Gomez's 100%, but I've been coaching long enough where I can tell the difference if you're giving 100% or if you're not. All right. So you got to come here, give 100%. And you should have seen those guys, those kids pushing and working and giving 100% so they could stay on the team.
Yeah.
They wanted to be on the team. A lot of numbers, all new uniforms, all new warm-ups. We walked into a place, we looked good. Let me take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll wrap things up about the youth program and where we're going. This is Snapdown Wrestling. I'm your host, Tommy Lynch, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're here with Coach Ray and Coach Cleason, and we are talking middle school and youth wrestling and where we're at. And we're very excited to be where we're at moving forward with the season, barring anything crazy. We're moving in the right direction. The big thing, I'll say it again, is that the vaccine is now being distributed. It's a game changer. Guys, I could not be happier where we're at right now. Now it's time, like I said before break, we got to get the numbers up. So,
well, in order to get the numbers up, you got to get the other numbers down. So once the amount of positives, the amount of people testing positive in a 7-day span, or and once that starts to fall, you'll start to see people wanting to come back out. Now your team more than anyone had youth that was exceptional as far as you guys, Tom and his coaches have been able to win the freshman states 2 years straight. So they're sophomores of that team won freshman states their freshman year. This year's freshmen won freshman states. So they had young talent, developing and all hungry to take home a championship. So I guarantee that you had tons of kids devastated with COVID. But you also have tons of moms and dads at home, or kids that live with their grandparents I understand why they're nervous about the risk. Once those numbers go down and safety is a concern of a lot of families. Once those numbers go down, I think your numbers will go up. But like we said, wrestling is one of the safest sports. You're only in contact with one other one
got
other
Serge,
kid.
excuse me. Let me just. We got Serge Boysu just chimed in. How you doing, Serge? Thanks for watching.
Oh, nice.
Saying, Ruben, you did
One
a
of the
fantastic
great
job.
Serge.
Yeah. Giving you your props that you did a great job with the kids. And wow, KO, another wrestler.
Nice.
That's Chucky.
That is Chucky. How you doing, Chucky? What's up? Good to see you. And Justin Erickson, just mentioned him. Ruben is going to do big things.
That's my boss.
Yeah. And we mentioned Justin wondering what was going on with the middle school program, and we're talking about the positive things that are going to be happening. Just got an email about the season today. All right. So, a lot of good things. Today's a game changer. Like I said, with the vaccine coming out, numbers are going to drop, knock on wood, hopefully, fingers crossed, not just for the sports, but just, for life in general. I mean, so many people dying. It's such a tragedy that this is big, and see those numbers, those percentages drop. I think you're right, Coach, when you say that once we see those drop, that, the kids are going to start coming out. They're going to start signing up again. Chucky, pretty good, guys. Good seeing you, buddy.
Well, another thing that you're, as coaches, you guys know this too. Your senior year, Ruben, I know you probably had maybe 2 guys that you practice with every day at practice. It's not like you jump around the team. It's not like varsity are teaming up with the JVs. Usually the JVs are with the JVs, the varsity are with the varsity, and the 119-pounders with the 125-pounder and the 112-pounder. So
that's where I got so lucky. Is Lewis and Marquise were in that group, and we had a couple floaters here and there. But I grew up in the wrestling with those 2 guys, and it was blood, sweat, and tears.
That's why you'll see state champs of like when a team has multiple state champs, they're usually right around the same weights.
Yeah.
So these parents need to realize that these kids are practicing in small groups that are consistent in the same kids every day. So once parents think about it, I think, and they're like, wait a minute, these kids are not, mingling and they're always, I think that'll help with the numbers as well. You know what I mean? As opposed to a basketball practice when everybody's together, the whole group, So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're gonna have one partner through the practice, and you're going to be spaced more than 6 feet apart. 10 feet apart. I think it's 14. You can have 14 partners or groups, or two wrestlers, 14, 28 guys on one mat. Everyone's going to be 10 feet apart and be working with the same guy. All right. Even if it went into a shock bait type situation where you're wrestling groups of 4, it's only going to be those 4. If one gets in a group of 3, we're not going to cycle somebody in to complete that group of 4.
I think high school coaches need to let their parents know this and be like, listen, Steven's going to be working with Tom, Jeff, and Pete, and it's just those 4. No one's is that those 4 will be together for shock baits. They might rotate, but they're not going to be working with anyone else but those 4. And they're like, oh, I know Pete's family. I know that they're good. They're not out, out everywhere, where I got to worry about a high risk. So I think if coaches convey that message clearly on when they're introing, it could help.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be using the defense wipes, before and during practice, and of course, definitely, before matches and when the wrestler comes off the mat. There's going to be a lot of hygiene and safety measures in play this season, even with the vaccine. Once the season starts, I think you're just going to see a heightened sense of cleaning and cautionary measures being taken to make sure that everybody is wiped down in the mats.
Wrestlers already do that anyways with the fear of ringworm.
Yeah.
So we already sterilize the mat every single day, and so that was already going on. So
right. And this kind of shifted into the COVID thing because it kind of has to right now. It's really what scared the whole sports community. And you see, kids walking around. Kids, you got to tighten it up too. Make sure you're wearing your masks. The schools, are going on. They're having the hybrid, whereas distance learning, and then you come to school. Some kids are going to school 5 days a week if they need that type of support. And I work in the school system, and I see these kids, and I'm constantly being like, put your mask up, put your mask up. For the most part, the kids are doing really good. But let's just take that to the next level for the next few weeks to a month. Get through the holidays, and you're going to see the numbers go down. Try to, not go and visit the family. And if you do, you got to wear the mask. You got to do all that because we want a season. We want sports to happen across the board, and we want everybody to be safe. We want people to live. We want grandma and grandpa to be okay, and not, have it be our fault because we went over there and we was just lackadaisical and didn't wear our masks. Because that's the problem too, guys. As you know, the kids that doesn't really affect the teenagers and the high school kids or the middle school kids. So they're like, I'm going to get a cold. I'm going to get a runny nose and a sore throat. So what? I get that 2 times a year anyway. You got to take it seriously. It's not about you. It's about other people that are affected by it and that will, die because of it. So we got to take that step, especially now. Show that you care. Show that you care about your community, about your family, about others, and just do what you're supposed to do and take that extra step. So, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for the comments. We're going to keep plugging away. We're going to keep doing this every Monday night on different coaches. We have different subjects that we talk about, and we're going to give you the latest information. I can tell you right now, my next call, don't go to sleep, Justin, because an email today sounds good to me, and I'm curious as to what's going on with the middle school program, so we can start getting those numbers up as well. The COVID numbers go down. The wrestling sign-up numbers go up.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking to do.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Keep doing what you do, guys, and stay in touch. It was great having you on. And Arthur Souza, go get him, please. You guys are doing great and great work with the kids. Like Serge said, I mean, Rhode Island is on the rise. Rhode Island wrestlers are just tearing it up, and it's because of coaches like you guys, like myself, everybody that cares, that goes the extra mile, that does the extra to make it happen. So keep doing it. Again, this has been Coach Cleason and Coach Ray joining us on Snapdown Wrestling. We do this every Monday night at 9:00. So make sure you tune in next week, because I know I'll have more news next week. I definitely will have some information. So spread the word, tell your friends about it, and let's go get them. Let's have a wrestling season.
Yeah, for sure.
May 4th. That's the latest that I heard. So
thanks for having us.
Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks, Coach Lynch.
Guys, tell the family I said hi. Love you guys. Miss you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
You, brother.
You got it.
You guys.
Thanks, brother.
It was fun. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
You too. This is Matt Tommy Lane.